the next slide. And that's our new logo. So I just have to out with the old, in with the new. And now we can go next slide. Um, yeah, so a little background about the Western Shasta RCD. We cover 1.7 million acres in the western half of Shasta County and work directly with landowners, community members, and both federal and non-federal agencies. And we cover a whole breadth of work that I really got a lot of diverse experience working at basically each one of our projects. So got a full understanding of what the RCD does and got to try a lot of things and figure out what I like to do and maybe not like to do as much. So we do a lot of forest health and wildfire resiliency work. So through fuels reduction, wildfire recovery, so like native planting on in burn scars, um, help to update the CWPP in Shasta County, which is the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and then also participated in some defensible space and home hardening. We also do a lot of restoration work, so salmon monitoring, some native species planting and monitoring, and we have a grant covering pollinator and wildlife habitat implementation, and that also allows us to do some education on pollinator and wildlife habitat. So that's the next bucket of things that we do is community engagement and outreach. So trying to get more into that zone. There's not currently a position or a person in the RCD that is in the like exclusively doing community engagement outreach. So that's kind of where I found myself trying to fill those gaps this year and trying to get some momentum going so we can further communicate the work that the RCD does because we do a lot of cool stuff. And so you can kind of go to the next slide, Cindy. And yeah, 10 months, three girls, one grizzly. My goals this year were to help expand the RCD's online social media and digital communication just through creating content for the Instagram, Facebook, and just having a more online presence and creating accessible and diverse educational and informational content, as well as sending out a quarterly newsletter with opportunities and resources throughout Shasta County. And I just included how that went because I have a feeling that if I did it later, I would forget to mention what actually happened. So I was able to make like 30 posts, 11 reels, send out 3 newsletters, and add 200 contacts to our list. And we went from having no Instagram at all to an Instagram of almost 200 followers. Another one of my goals was to plan and host at least 3 community events to empower local community members to be good stewards of the land within Shasta County. And most importantly, this part kind of developed later, but to inspire the connection between the people and their place. So I was able to host 2 volunteer events, 5 community events, and 4 in-school education events with the help of my lovely coworkers. And the last goal, and probably the goal that I think went most unseen until the very end because that's just the nature of the work. But to collaborate and network with local agencies and expand the RCD's ability to work in cooperation with these groups rather than in siloed sections when all we want to do collectively is promote good stewardship of the resources in Shasta County. And so helped us join the Shasta County Public Information Officers Group, joined and attended a bunch of the Shasta County Field Trip Collaborative groups, which is hosted through Shasta County Office of Education, attended the CARCD Educational Working Group, and last night just started the Eco Community Collaborative Working Group, which the name is still in the making, and I'll talk more about that later on in the presentation, but you can go to the next slide. And yeah, so a little bit about metamorphosis. I think a lot about bugs. I did a lot of bug stuff in my undergrad, and no matter how hard I try and shake it off of my environmental career, it just keeps coming back. So was able to do a lot of aquatic invertebrate or aquatic macroinvertebrate sampling this year with a lot of community members and school groups. And it had me really reflecting on this growth process that I went through. And so the first 5 months, 6 months, a really, really long time, it felt like a long time, was me being a hungry little scared caterpillar, eating these leaves around me and trying to fuel up and become something else and something that I feel good about and can contribute to an organization and just the world in general. And so there was a lot of questioning of like, where am I? Where am I going? And eating these leaves. And so the leaves came in the form of like, helping the field staff without their field work stuff, very entry level things, attending community events, volunteering, saying yes to things that people just kind of need help with, having vulnerable conversations with my coworkers and community members of the needs of the community, really just trying to do my best to listen, and just trying new things like going on prescribed burns and attending trainings that I wouldn't really expect myself to train and or take trainings in, and just kind of like staying in my comfort zone and saying yes to things and trying to be critical about which leaves tasted yummier than others to me. And so with that, you can go to the next slide. Um, and yeah, so this is kind of in a chronological order of just things that came my way and was able to work with. So the first thing that felt successful to me in my time at the Western Shasta RCD this year was an education event at the French Gulch Elementary School. And so did some aquatic macroinvertebrate sampling and learned a lot about how to actually communicate this information that originally started as a very technical thing for me and was now becoming something that I would communicate with larger audiences. You can go to the next slide. I also dip my toes in helping out with the community wildfire protection plan community meetings, which I learned a lot about public speaking from my wonderful coworker who's standing up there, Kaylin. She helped a lot this year in me finding my way in community building and community education. And so I kind of took the back seat here and just watched how she did it and helped facilitate those meetings with snacks and just general positive chatting with community members, but most of all, just listening to the needs of the community that were brought up at these meetings. You can go to the next slide. And yeah, like I mentioned before, a lot of the initial work I was doing was just field work, which kind of was in this funny zone of my comfort zone and outside my comfort zone. So doing lots of native replanting, especially at like landowners' properties and getting to talk with landowners. We did a bunch of native replanting at our restoration sites. So we have some riparian habitat that's been degraded, and we've just been doing some monitoring and restoration there with lots of weed whacking, which that really hurt my back for a few days, and lots of digging holes and getting my hands in the dirt, and lots of laughter and uh, shared kind of misery with the field crew. But in the end, we're all really good friends and really grateful for the first few months of them kind of helping me find my way and become comfortable with the work that the RCD does. So you can go to the next slide. And then that kind of leads me to like 6 months in of becoming something else and ready to go into my cocoon and taking up all of these experiences that I've had and turning them into something else. So also questioning of how I become something that fits the needs of both the RCD and of me. And that was really hard and really questioning if it's right and kind of rushing myself to become something that I wasn't ready to become yet. So shouldn't I be a butterfly already? No. You can go to the next slide. And yeah, so this was kind of my first like dipping the toes in the water of like, oh, I think this is something I'm interested in and want to pursue and kind of make my own thing out of. And so I was able to help out and co-instruct our Shasta County's first ever California Naturalist Certification Program. It was hosted for 25 California Conservation Corps members. And I was able to collaborate with not just the Cs, but also use the ANR and just talk to them about the importance of educating, especially CCC and community members of what the resource, like the Shasta County specific environment is and the history of it. And so if you go to the next slide, I really started to try and bring art into my life throughout this year. I spent a lot of time alone and reflecting, and it lent itself, I think, to a lot of creativity and just not knowing what to do with myself. So I tried to combine like my own interests in this class I was taking of how to teach nature journaling from the Wild Wonder Foundation, and combine that into a more compelling thing that can reach broad audiences. So from here on out, I kind of am trying to combine my love for people and love for the natural world and also my like growing interest in art and creativity. So this was the nature journaling presentation that I made for that class and was able to teach it a few more times to some audiences in Shasta County, and had a lot of fun rolling with this kind of presentation style. You can go to the next slide. And yeah, like I said, kind of rolling with this presentation style and with the bugs. It was a big year of nature journaling and aquatic macroinvertebrates for me, which is pretty good in my books. And was able to collaborate with the Horsetown Clear Creek Preserve to host this kind of community science event where you go and sample the aquatic invertebrates you identify in a stream, and that kind of can give you a sense of how that ecosystem is doing in terms of health, because some species are more tolerant than other species to pollution. Um, and in my experience with teaching the kids about this and a few other times, really tried to reframe this to kind of a bigger problem of where are the insect populations going and why is our relationship to insects so negative when really bugs are kind of cool and we could not exist without them. So kind of transforming the way that I communicated about aquatic invertebrates as the year went on. Um, and yeah, if you go to the next slide, I was, yeah, kind of popping out of the cocoon as I'm figuring out if I can do this, feeling a little unsure, feeling a little more steady though, and just kind of curious of what's to come. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. And so I was able to host another event in collaboration with the Horsetown Creek Preserve, teaching that nature journaling class and really starting to lean into like no digital stuff, just hand-drawn things um, for promoting events and that kind of stuff, especially in the age of AI, I think, and hope that people are kind of leaning back towards those handcrafted, human touched things. And I think that really coincides with the entire climate resiliency mission in motion. Um, and so at this event, there was a huge, it was a huge success, but there was a real pool and concentration of not really community members, but rather people who are the leaders of other nonprofit environmental organizations. So CMPS was there, Shasta Environmental Alliance was there, just these kind of like leaders already in the environmental field were here, and we were like, where are the community members? Like, we're trying so hard and promoting so much, but we can't seem to get in contact and have people come to these events that we're working so hard on. And so this day really just led to a really good discussion of like, how do we really reach out to people and how do we work less siloed from each other? And so this was kind of when those networks and community relations that I had been establishing throughout the whole year began to come into fruits or began to bud. So if you go to the next slide, this is a slight detour from that path, but was able to host a cyanotype printing workshop that was able to make my first zine for, which kind of teaches about leaf arrangement and leaf types and different shapes that you might see in those silhouettes that the cyanotypes create. And this was a really great learning point because we were able to get this event promoted by Visit Reading, which ended up getting this event to like almost 2,000 views on Instagram. And we had like 25 community members come, most hearing about it from visitreading.com, which was really cool because we really, before then, lots of organizations have been having trouble getting community members. So it was great to get such a positive response from an art focused activity that also is able to communicate science and just have a lot of excitement in the room about this cool art form. And also Shamik was able to come, one of the other GrizzlyCorps fellows, which is always awesome to have that grizzly appearance made. So that was a really big success. And then if you go to the next slide, another big success was a collaboration between Shasta Environmental Alliance, who I met at that original nature journaling workshop. And her and I just hit it off and we're like, okay, we need to get this going. People are really interested in this, like just looking to collaborate because we both recognize that all of the individual organizations are a lot less strong independently. So we wanted to start collaborating and we were able to get like 12 people to come out with us that were not at the original nature journaling workshop to Manzanita Lake at Lhasa National Park and had a whole day of wonder and imagination and curiosity there, which was really exciting to see that interest and that engagement in arts and science in a really cool place. But also there's cool things all around you. And you would learn that in one of my nature journaling workshops, so you should totally come. And yeah, if you go to the next slide, it kind of brings us to a culmination of what I've been alluding to and talking about this whole presentation, and just like the slow building of relationships and networks throughout the whole year. I really wanted to, throughout this whole year, start kind of a education working group, but there already was one, and there already was the PIO group, and there was the CARCD one, but it still felt like something was missing. So, in collaboration with a community member that was in the Cal Naturalist course and one of the women at Shasta Environmental Alliance, we kind of came together and we're like, okay, well, how can we get these groups all involved in working together and more collaboratively. So last night we were able to host the first ever Moving Forward Together meeting. That's kind of a Shasta County Eco Collaborative Working Group. So we were able to reach out and get 30 people to come to represent 11 different um, environmental organizations in Shasta County and a little bit outside of Shasta County too. I think there were some people from Siskiyou. Um, and yeah, do some brainstorming about our own needs. We followed the analogy that GrizzlyCorps actually kind of goes of, is the mushroom representing the fruiting body, yourself, and kind of checking in with the needs of the mushroom, and then checking in with the needs of the tree, which represents the organization itself, and then taking a whole look at the mycelium web, which is the fungal roots that connect it all and send signals between trees or organizations. So we had a whole fun night. We really didn't want to make it another board meeting. So we had lots of food, put a lot of love into the Lassen room, which historically people have told us not to host things in because it's at the RCD and there's no AC. But it turned out really nice. My coworkers helped set up all the tables and everything, and all of the trees and mushrooms and stuff. So if you go to the next slide, actually, all of the materials we made. Were all the College Core Fellow made all those mushrooms. She made like 35 of them, made that little poster, homemade food from one of the community members. And then from the Shasta Environmental Alliance, she made this zine to kind of cover the whole framework of like why we're coming together. And we really wanted to do this meeting super intentionally and with a lot of love and energy so that this would be a sustained thing, because people have all been having this shared problem of not enough community engagement, not enough volunteers, when there's so much work to be done and a lot of like hopelessness in the community. So we're really excited about the direction that this is going in. And then, so if you go to the next slide, that's kind of the ta-da, like it became a little bit of a butterfly, and it really, this year has become something beyond anything I could have imagined. And I'm really excited to be able to continue my work with the Western Shasta RCD for the next year. So I'll be here another year, and I'm looking forward to continuing those relationships and continuing to feel the love and the support from the community, and lots of big things coming for the Western Shasta RCD. And I'm really excited to be able to one day pass on something that can actually be continued and picked up. So if you go to the next slide, just a little appreciation for the Grizzly community, because this year had been really hard for so many reasons, moving away, like being in a new place, and like I relied so heavily on this community and could not have been able to do my very emotionally labor intensive work without the support of a Grizzly community. So so much love for GrizzlyCorps and all of the work that GrizzlyCorps does. And then if you go to the next slide, just a little appreciation for my very fun and loving coworkers who I've grown super close to this whole year, and really supported me in finding my way and give me things to do when I felt lost and hopeless at moments. And then just quickly on the next slide, just my big takeaways is that public speaking can be fun, and education publicly can be really fun too. I think I got a lot better at public speaking this year. So if you think that this was bad, you should have seen me 10 months ago. And that you can defeat imposter syndrome with joy. At moments of my most intense imposter syndrome, all I would say to myself, like, if nothing else, at least I can bring joy. That is all I have to offer sometimes, even though that wasn't really true. Towing things is really hard, and I don't really ever want to do that again. Create as much as possible. It really helps us process the world around us and understand change in the world, a very rapidly changing world. Bugs can teach us a lot about ourselves, and we should all care or at least appreciate bugs in some way. and that most of all, relationships, trust, and connection deserve and also take time. Um, and then I think the next slide is just a thank you to everyone that listened today, to GrizzlyCorps, to everyone that supported me on my way. And yeah, I thought this was a really pretty picture of some resilience in California. So thank you. And if you have any questions, please let me know.